मेरा भी level 6 है.
Yes, Nurse Crane? How can I help you?
I'm so sorry. I know Dr. Swansea wanted you to rest, but we have somewhat of a crisis.
A crisis, you say?
Our supply of antiseptics is nearly depleted. I was hoping there was another box up here, but...
What type of hospital are you running? No antiseptics?
You have been away too long, Doctor. With the war and now this epidemic, supplies have been running scarce for months now.
I may have a solution. In France, during the war, drugs shortage was a daily problem, and we had to use our wits to overcome the shortages.
However do you mean?
If combined correctly, certain household chemical products can be used in a pinch instead. Now, where's the hospital storeroom?
The storeroom? Fat chance. This is the Pembroke, and space is luxury we don't have. Everything used to be stored in the old morgue.
Perhaps I should look there first. Where is this morgue?
It's the large building behind the hospital. You'll need to go in the back door because it's been sealed off for sanitary reasons. Take this key. It opens a small back entrance at the end of a narrow street.
The abandoned morgue behind the hospital. A small door at the end of a narrow street. On my way then. Thank you, nurse. It's locked. It's locked.
It's locked.
It's locked.
It's locked. बस एक ही चीज बोल रहा है ये हमारा बंदा. It's locked. हाँ. Bottle of gin. Cheap gin. Small bottle. इसका crafting system देखना कैसा है? फॉरवर्ड कर दे मेरी स्ट्रीमर सबको समीर. अरे करना क्या है, जाना किधर है ये तो बताओ. अच्छा बेहतरीन हो गया शायद भाई. अब 2-3 घंटे और खेलेंगे हो जाएगा. यार गेम बहुत अच्छी है समीर, ये बहुत अच्छा गेम है यार. अलग टाइप का गेम है और थोड़ा सस्पेंस और थ्रिल है यार. थोड़ा क्या ज़्यादा सस्पेंस और थ्रिल है. नहीं वो अपनी इसके लिए ना हमारा कोई.
Yes, Doctor?
Why then do you always work the nights? Don't you ever sleep?
At the Pembroke, we're always hands on deck.
Lack of sleep and the medical profession always ends in disaster. I've witnessed many a colleague succumb to stimulants to fight exhaustion. Drugs were as deadly as bullets in the trenches.
London's trenches start here at Pembroke Hospital. We are on the front line, make no mistake.
Chapter 1 पे ही chapter 2 पे मेरे ख्याल से.
Please, could you point me in the direction of the morgue again?
It's the large boarded-up building behind the hospital. You can't miss it. The key I gave you will open the small back door to it.
That's all for now, Nurse Crane. Thank you.
मॉक जाना है, बिल्डिंग बिहाइंड द हॉस्पिटल। ये होगा।
Scowl voices in the garden. I should investigate. If they were to find somebody.
अरे बैठा बैठ सीन हुआ समीर, तुम्हारा हैक हो गया चैनल। अंकल आपको खा ओ, भाई मार रहा है। मैं लगता है ये कोई मरीज है। बड़ी बैड सीन किया इसने तो मेरे साथ यार। बुलेट्स मिली छ छ छ। अच्छा ये क्या बोल रहा है? मैं आवाज़ कम आ रही है यार, मैं हल्के बोल रहा हूँ। मैं अपना माइक्रोफोन लेवल थोड़ा बढ़ा देता हूँ, वैसे मैं हल्का बोल रहा हूँ। मैं इधर जाना नहीं चाह रहा अभी, मैं थोड़ा देख रहा हूँ इधर उधर कुछ है तफरी वाली चीज़। ये कौन है भाई? Quarantine influence area, keep out of this area by order of the health. कोरोना वाली फीलिंग दे रहा है थोड़ा गेम। ये वाला दरवाजा भी बंद है, ये वाला भी दरवाजा बंद है, ये भी बंद है, सभी बंद है यार। चलो find useful medical ingredients in the old morgue. Find some phosphorus, tartrate, quinine, sodium iodide, पता नहीं क्या नाम है भाई, लड़ लेंगे इनसे। डेथ स्ट्रैंडिंग की स्ट्रीम तुम्हारी डिलीट हो गई यार, तो बहुत बैड हुआ। डेथ स्ट्रैंडिंग भी गेम है यार बेहतरीन। यार मैं शायद ना गलती से बॉस में घुस गया डायरेक्ट। कट सीन दे दिया है, कट सीन नहीं लोडिंग स्क्रीन दे दी है, पता नहीं क्या हुआ। Shadow as an enemy includes the blind scale and the creature will feel your presence. ये शैडो वाइल क्या पावर है? आप एक जो को जानते, मैं क्यों जानूंगा यार। पैम्बर्ग हॉस्पिटल। अबे यार यानी कटसीन आएगा फिर यार, मैं पागल हूँ बिला वजह इस जगह से बाहर आया। Blood quality, the amount of XP you get from the citizen you choose to embrace is directly linked to their blood quality. अच्छा खराब ब्लड क्वालिटी को नहीं चूसू ना मैं। आय हाय, उस बेचारे आदमी ने तो 500 ही दी थी मुझे स्टार्टिंग में। और अपने लेवल वालों को ही चूस सकते हैं ना सिर्फ। नहीं वो टच पैड करके करते हैं ना मेरे ख्याल से। कहाँ से चीखने की आवाज आ रही है भाई, चीखो नहीं, डर लग रहा है। दरवाजा खोल बे।
I cannot enter.
I cannot enter. तू तो दरवाजा कैसा वैम्पायर है, एक दरवाजा नहीं तोड़ सकता यार, अजीब।
Behavior is similar to the infected William Bishop. Must be the same strain. This sickness moves faster than influenza.
कोई नहीं मिल गई, चलो भाई एक मेडिसिन मिल गई। 8 सिक्के मिले। अच्छा जी ये एक सेकेंड। ग्लिच हो यार मेरे ख्याल से, मेरे पास दोनों वेपन एक ही आ रहे, ऐसा क्यों हुआ है ये। अच्छा ये है साइथ है ना, साइथ। अच्छा 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 अच्छा। तो गन कहाँ रखूं अब। रखी हुई है लेकिन मैं गन यूज कैसे कर सकता हूँ, गन इक्विप ही नहीं हो रही है। Let me check it. आ गया मैं कलेक्टर में आ गया। हाँ मैंने ऑफ हैंड में ना, ऑफ हैंड की बात कर रहे हैं मेन हैंड की बात कर रहे हैं। ऑफ हैंड में मैंने एक पे रखी हुई है साइट और एक पे रखी हुई गन, ठीक है, लेकिन फिर भी वो ना स्विच नहीं हो रही है। ट्रायंगल, अच्छा 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 अच्छा, सही। हाँ सही है, सही हो गया, आ गया, समझ आ गया। चलो लूट करो।
This key will surely grant me access to the basement.
अंडरग्राउंड चलो, अंडरग्राउंड अंडरग्राउंड। अरे आप जिंदा हो गए फिर। मैं वैम्पायर का खून चूस रहा हूँ, मेरी वही नहीं बढ़ रही है लाल वाली हेल्थ। वो लाल वाली हेल्थ को क्या कहते हैं?
Balls of Mars, fortifiers.
ब्लड ही नहीं बढ़ रहा है मेरा।
As popular as they are ineffective.
यार नहीं, मैं जानता नहीं हूँ, बस वो ऐसी है, बस यार ग्रुप में आके अजीब वो ग्रुप है भाई, मुझे समझ नहीं आता समीर। ओह डरा दिया यार। कोई चीज गई थी सामने, मैंने देख भी नहीं पाया, कोई चीज गई थी या मैं ऐसी बस डर गया बिला वजह। भाई ये बंदूक निकाल लिया, मैं इसका सर फाड़ दूंगा बंदूक से। आजा बेटा।
These skulls feed from corpses and the husks of animals. They're not after blood.
अच्छा गन से स्टन हो रहा है। मैंने अब नोट ये चीज। अबे यार समीर यार हाइस करा यार GTA की, अपने दोस्त को ला पकड़ के। हैवी वेपन है लेकिन ये थोड़ा ना शायद। हाँ कुछ खास लूट ही नहीं मिल रही है यार यहाँ से। और लाल छुरी मिल गई, Western knife. You just acquire a new type of equip this and press triangle to absorb blood. ये में क्या मतलब? Direct blood absorb करेगा ये।
It's locked, all right.
It's locked, all right. Local investigation, a new citizen investigation is available and press to open the local investigation. ये वही बुढ़िया जिसको आप बोल लेते हैं मैं तेरे को आखिर में खाएगा। Citizen investigation are displayed here and categorized by district. You can start a new citizen quest by tracking it with a square and access to your map to locate the area or to explore. सही हो गया भाई, सही हो गया। I have read the report of doctor and the name and concerning the death of the Samuel Gunnar. I am not quite convinced right now. Perhaps I should conduct my own investigation to determine what is the real cause of the death. बाद में ढूंढेंगे क्या किसी डाकुला नहीं मारा होगा बेचारे को, डेथ का क्या
Mr. Connor's injuries don't match the report. I'd better look into this. मेज वो भारी सा होगा। बॉस आ गया जी। John Doe. दो हैं तो बच्चा है, यूं ही जा रहा है तो आधी हेल्थ गई। मैं तेरे को पिएगा रे, बॉस को पीने से कुछ फायदा होगा?
अच्छा ये शैडो वाली पावर अभी मुझे समझ नहीं आई है थोड़ी। आजा बेटा जूस पिए जरा।
These skulls can be so ferocious. I'm not sure I can defeat them without becoming stronger.
अबे यार समीर तूने रिमाइंड नहीं कराया मुझे, मैं तुझे ऐड करता हूँ। अच्छा क्राफ्ट द ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ द फटीग नाइट शिफ्ट है ये, और ये क्या था हार्डर दे फॉल। मैं चेक कर लूँ ये क्या है अपना। द हार्डर दे फॉल द फाइंड द कॉज ऑफ द डेथ नाइट शिफ्ट। यही कर लेते हैं यार। प्लेस मार्कर कैसे होगा ये? ये कौन से मिले फॉर्मूले यार? इनेग्मेटिक। ओह वाओ क्रैश। ये तो ये क्राफ्टिंग का सीन क्या है इसमें? अभी तो ट्यूटोरियल में नहीं है वो, मैं वहीं कर लूँगा। नहीं वो वहाँ मुझे लगता है ना सेफ आउट में मुझे वो देंगे ये लोग, ट्यूटोरियल देंगे ना, तो मैं वो कैसे बनेगी फटीग की मेडिसिन। ट्रीटमेंट फटीग, ट्रीटमेंट फॉर दी फटीग, यूज इट क्योर टू 6 सिटीजन। अच्छा क्राफ्ट कर लो। 2 बना के रख। नहीं 2 तो बना ही नहीं सकता मैं, किसी को नहीं दूंगा भाई। मैं बेचेगा, मैं ले लो भाई, बेचेगा महंगा बेचेगा, लेना किसी को फ्री में नहीं देगा किसी को, ऐसे नहीं देने का चीज़ इस गेम में। बड़ी मेहनत से यार लड़के वैम्पायरों को मार रहे हैं, इनको गिफ्ट दे दे हम। ना 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 ऐसे नहीं मिलेगा। साइड मिशन कर लेता हूँ।
The chest was originally opened to perform the operation. The sutures are clean, but the chest has been reopened.
यार ये रेजिडेंट इविल सीरियल आ रहा है, ये एनिमेटेड होगा या वो होगा ह्यूमन होगा, असल होगा?
Traces of a pinkish foam at the corner of the lips.
अभी तो मॉडल कॉम्बैट की मूवी भी तो आ रही है।
Some sort of drug overdose, perhaps? Multiple abrasions and scarring on the arms and legs. Old and distinctive injuries of a sailor or a fisherman. A puncture over the left lung, possibly a chest tube insertion. Not the cleanest work, but I think it was
एक्सपेरिमेंट किया होगा इस
successful.
बंदे पे ना, दवाइयों का।
Signs of internal bleeding. So, Dr. Tippett's anesthetics were incorrectly dosed, causing the patient's death. And then, he tried to operate on him again. Tippett has made an egregious error. It's time we talked.
आजा टिपेट, तूने एक बंदा मार दिया ना अपने अनप्रोफेशनलिज्म की वजह से, तुझे मारता है, मैं खा जाएगा तेरे को कोने में लेके जाके, तेरे को कोने में लेके जाएगा और मैं खाएगा रे। क्या मैसेज कर रहे हो यार ये? अब सुनना मैंने आया है मेटल गियर सॉलिड 2, 3, 4 का। नहीं यार मेटल गियर अभी तो कुछ नहीं सुनने में आ रहा है। मेटल गियर 2, 3, 4 का रीमेक कहाँ से आएगा? शाहजी ये मॉर्ग के अंदर एक चेस्ट पड़ा है, इसकी चाबी कहाँ मिलेगी? यही देगा, टिपेट ही देगा। हाँ टिपेट को मैं नहीं छोड़ेगा। टिपेट ने बंदा मार दिया है शाहजी, यानी बेकसूर आदमी पे एक्सपेरिमेंट वो कर दिया, यानी अपनी जाली डॉक्टर है। बाबा टिपेट को नहीं छोड़ना मैंने। मैं पहले टिपिट का बदला। ओ भूत भैया कैसे हो? टिपिट में तेरा खून पी जाएगा। अच्छा क्या नाइट शिफ्ट ब्रिंग द मेडिसिन टू द डॉक्टर? अच्छा द हार्ड द इंटरोगेट द कॉलन टिपिट अबाउट द मेडिकल एरर। इंटरोगेट ग्वेंट अबाउट मेडिकल एरर। ग्वेंट से तो वो कार्ड याद आ गया। ग्वेंट बार बार गैरल खेलने बैठ जाता था। आता नहीं था खेलना। हालांकि मैं जीता नहीं पूरे गेम में एक दफा भी। विचर को 200 आवर दिए लेकिन जीता नहीं मैं फिर एंड में भूल गया मैंने गोएंड की डिफिकल्टी हार्ड भी ली थी। शुरू में डिफिकल्टी बढ़ाई थी ना सबकी। एक दफा भी नहीं जीता था मैं पूरे गेम में गोएंड। एक मैच सिंगल मैच नॉट अ सिंगल मैच। उसकी ट्रॉफी नहीं खोल पाया था। जो हमें जंक मिल रहा है कचरा मिल रहा है बेचते नहीं जाके। हाँ तो इनसे क्या मिलेगा? करेंसी का इंग्रेडिएंट्स। अच्छा जो मैंने अभी ये फटीक वटीक का बनाया है सीरम, ये सीरम है ना? सही। बीमार लोग जो हैं। अच्छा मैं एक्स्ट्रा बना के रखूं यानी ये चीजें, यानी कोई बेचारा अगर मिल जाए। नहीं नहीं खाना है तो क्यों सही करूंगा मैं शाजी उसको। उसको तो मैं आराम से तंदुरुस्त किया फिर खा लिया। ओ ना यार आला हो गया, आला हो गया। यार ये कैसा बंदा है, ये अपना सर दिया हुआ ना इस चीज के अंदर। यार चूहे कराओ मेरे को, मैंने चूहे खाने हैं। हाँ हाँ डॉक्टर नहीं, अच्छी कॉम्बिनेशन है। यानी एक ईविल भी है और गुड भी हो सकता है भाई। अच्छा गेम है, प्रॉपर गेम है। मैं तो मिनी वे जो मैप है ना कंपास को देखते हुए चलता रहता हूँ बस। फक 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 मैं फिर मॉर्ग में आ गया। एक तो अगर किसी गलत बिल्डिंग में घुस जाओ ना जहाँ लोडिंग स्क्रीन खुल जाए यार बड़ा ख्वारी होती है। यार नहीं फमीर वो मेटल गियर का भी सुनने में नहीं आया रीमेक आ रहा है कहीं से। शाहजी मेटल गियर का कोई वो आ रहा है अपना रीमेक आ रहे हैं 234 242 आ जाए तो मजा आ जाना। स्नेक ईटर का अगर आ गया ना ओहो ओहो। तो खोजिमा बनाएगा बैठ के या फिर कोनामी बनाएगा? गेम बहुत अच्छा है यार, ये बहुत दिनों बाद कोई अच्छा सस्पेंस थ्रिल गेम खेलना है। मुझे वो खेलना है शाहजी मैन ऑफ मिडान, और उसका जो दूसरा पार्ट आया ये दोनों खेलने हैं, साथ खेलने हैं किसी के। ये गेम वैसे हैं अपने अंटिल डॉन खेला आपने? बहुत छोटी गेम है लेकिन इसके 5 पार्ट हैं इस गेम के, आने हैं इसके, अभी दूसरा पार्ट आ रहा है। बहुत अच्छा गेम लग रहा है। उसकी तो ग्राफिक्स होंगी कोई। अच्छा इन गेम्स की ग्राफिक्स बड़ी अच्छी होती है डिटेल, जैसे डिट्रॉइट बिकम ह्यूमन की कितनी अच्छी ग्राफिक्स है। बहुत प्यारी डिटेल डालते हैं ऐसे गेम में। आपने आप वो खेला आपने हैरी का जो अभी 2 महीने पहले लगा था? शाहजी खेले 2-1.5 घंटे का गेम है, 1.5-2 घंटे का गेम। बड़े यार सही बोल रहे हैं, दरवाजे नहीं मिल रहे। कौन सा दरवाजा कहाँ जा रहा है? अस्पताल का दरवाजा है तो।
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed.
Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir. Especially when he was supposedly dead.
A colleague? Are you a doctor too?
Not anymore, sir. I used to be Dr. Rakesh Chadana.
ये राकेश चडाना को खा लूंगा मैं शाहजी।
Mr. Chadana, pawnbroker and humble guardian of this morgue.
What do you mean?
ये एक इंडियन बैठा हुआ है यहाँ पे।
Was your license revoked?
ये इंडियन है, मैं इसको खा जाएगा।
It is just that I like to be precise. I run a little pawn shop while taking care of the dead.
तो अच्छा एक्सेंट भी शाहजी ब्रिटिश नहीं दिया इसको, देसी एक्सेंट दिया है। इसकी ब्लड क्वालिटी शाहजी 2500 है, चबा जाता हूँ इसको। इसको चबा जाता हूँ। और इसका कोई रिलेशन भी नहीं है पब्लिक ना। आजा बेटा तू कोने में आजा मेरे साथ।
Are you afraid or uneasy being surrounded by so many corpses?
Why should I?
अरे शाहजी मैं इसको खाता हूँ वो फिर आगे जाके वो बन जाएगा, भूत बन जाएगा आगे, यानी
No soul anymore, all gone.
नहीं मैं इसको फिर नहीं खाऊंगा क्योंकि ये हॉस्पिटल के ये अहाते में, और हॉस्पिटल को मैं हेल्दी रखना चाह रहा हूँ। बच गया तुझे, बाहर लेके आऊंगा तेरे को। 1500 दे रहा है शाहजी, 1500। नहीं शाहजी इसकी ब्लड क्वालिटी 2500 है, 2500 है ब्लड क्वालिटी। एक खा चुका हूँ ना, यानी अभी हेल्दी चल रहा है हॉस्पिटल ना। एक बंदे से कुछ नहीं होगा। हाँ वो खाया अभी तो इसको मैं अब कैसे खाऊं?
Point of view. And quite an exotic one too. Most
Four,
people fear or at least have a respect for dead flesh.
और मेरा क्या होगा mesmerizing?
As a medic during the war, I learned to face my death and the death of others.
अच्छा ये mesmerizing लेवल अलग होता है, हमारे मेन लेवल से इसका ताल्लुक नहीं होता। अच्छा मैं अभी इम्ब्रेस हाँ क्यों? नहीं तो खाऊं क्यों मैं? अच्छा अपनी मर्जी से किसी को नहीं खाऊं जाके।
How did you get this job?
After I left the army, I worked as an undertaker down by the docks.
सही।
A dangerous place with many an unpleasant business there. Milton Hooks helped me
अच्छा
get a
अभी मैं
job.
अपना mesmerizing level कैसे चेक करूंगा?
Do you work here alone?
Yes, very easy work, sir. All I have to do is watch a few bodies. The situation was very different when the main morgue was still open.
Why close the hospital's main morgue?
It was for sanitary reasons after the beginning of the epidemic.
अभी मैं डायलॉग
Cadavers had to be moved to the nearest mass grave.
Why do you have to watch these bodies?
Because these poor fellows have no names. We keep them in case someone comes looking for the missing. Sadly, very rarely happens.
Have we met before?
I don't think so, sir. Why?
When we first talked, you said you were glad to meet me since I was reported dead.
Funny story, sir. Your sister came
अच्छा
here
शाहजी
a few nights
इसको
ago.
सब जानते हैं कि ये
You were
वैम्पायर है
missing,
हॉस्पिटल
and
वाले
she was
भी
looking for your body. She must be very relieved
अपना
now.
स्वयं जानता है सही है अरे लेट्स ट्रेड लेट्स
Please
नहीं
show
नहीं
me
नहीं
what you have to sell.
Of course.
ओ आ जाओ
It's just trinkets and curios, really. But I'm sure they can be useful.
शाहजी ये ना ये बैठ के इंडियन ना बाहर जाके वो बेच रहा है हाँ ये चीज़ें बेच रहा है हाँ चीज़ें बेच केमिकल बेच रहा है अब मैं इसको क्या दूँ मारूं नहीं ना ये काम का लौंडा लग रहा है स्मॉल बैंक ऑफ जंक अच्छा कौन सा यानी अपना जो वो है इंग्रेडिएंट है ज़्यादा अच्छी ये फेरस टार्ट्रेट सोडियम या फिर ये कोडीन पोटेशियम ये क्या एर्गोटामाइन या फिर ओपियम जो रिक्वायर्ड हो आके ले लूंगा इससे मैं आगे ना
Never ceases to amaze me how you.
It's locked, all right. Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed? Yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome
Waverly
aboard, I
Ackroyd.
suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swansea's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've
एक
never
डॉक्टर है
met
चल रहा है
before,
शाहजी हमसे
but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You
बोल
will
रहा है
agree with that,
डॉक्टर
I'm sure.
स्वयंजी ने तुम्हें आगे यहाँ बिठा
But
दिया
I
है
have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
Aren't you too old for such jealousy? It really won't do you any good, you know.
Don't be ridiculous, Dr. Reed. A simple glance is enough for me to know you have nothing for me to envy.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansea, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
अच्छा ये जो अपना डॉक्टर वेवरली ऑक्रॉयड है ये मॉडर्न मेडिसिन मेथड को डिसअप्रूव करता है सही है भाई भाई इसका खून भी ना बड़ा मज़ेदार लग रहा है 2600 एक्सपी देगा टेस्टी लग रहा है ये भी
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
अभी तो मैं सबसे बात कर रहा हूँ जो मुझे पसंद है अभी टिपेट को तो खाना है लास्ट
War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd. I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
This is ridiculous. My blood transfusion technique saved many lives, and you know it.
You see? That is exactly what I hate about people like you. You avoid this kind of accusation instead of facing reality.
Hint required. क्या डायलॉग करूं मुझसे? ये है कोई डॉक्टर बेवर्ली एक्रॉयड. मेरा 1 लेवल है, उसका 4 लेवल है यार. आधा.
Do you need my assistance?
Not at all. I'm sure that you are used to gaining people's trust with your impressive skills.
इसने मुझे चेकअप करने
it
से
will
मना
not
कर
be the
दिया.
case with me.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
You always knew the words to calm the children, Ellen.
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
एक तो शादी डायलॉग जब कर रहे होते हैं ना हम लोग, बीच में तो कोई पेशेंट चीखता आ.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical.
The experiment in blood transfusion was not being successful yet. अच्छा भाई failed doctor है ये.
You may remain empty-handed,
साजी
but
बात
you
सबसे
won't
करूँ ना जो
fail.
मुझे देखे.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
मुझे जो दिख रहा है उससे लग जाता हूँ भाई. आजा.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr.
ये hint
Swansea.
निकल आती है एक.
But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
Do you need help with
हाँ,
anything?
टिम्पेट में
in
अभी गया नहीं हूँ. मैं दूसरे डॉक्टरों से बात कर रहा हूँ.
maybe.
फिर टिम्पेट के बाद डाल
I'm
जाऊँगा.
waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research.
हाँ देख
Yet my
टिम्पेट दिख गया
supplier
मुझे.
seems to have vanished.
Do you want me
वो
to play the
साइड
errand
क्वेस्ट का
boy
हिस्सा है ना
for you?
टिम्पेट.
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop,
अच्छा किसी खराब बंदे
what
को
with your
खाऊंगा तो भी
reputation,
अनहेल्दी
you
होगा
wouldn't dare to
एरिया.
refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time.
मैं शाजी मुझे ये बताएं, जब मैं हिंट किसी की निकालता हूँ तो उसकी ब्लड क्वालिटी बढ़ जाती है? शाजी ये हिंट क्वालिटी लिखी हुई है जो, ठीक है, द ब्लड क्वालिटी ऑफ सिटीजन इज लार्जली इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय देयर हेल्थ एंड द नंबर ऑफ हिंट। हाँ, हिंट पे है शाजी। अगर अभी 2500 एक हिंट पे हो गई, अब दूसरी हिंट पे बढ़ जाएगा। और
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. I'm smiling now.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that
अच्छा,
science
ये
is about
power भी
exploring
use करता है
uncharted
किसी
territory.
जब
I'm
हिंट
convinced
निकल आती है ना,
that's true.
पूछ के
With the
पूछ लेता कुछ भी।
influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father.
मूवी वाली फीलिंग दे रहा है ये।
Ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior. A man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
why do
शाजी
you
अब एक
wish to
दो
lead
डॉक्टरों
this
में वो हो
I
गया है ना,
strongly believe that Mr.
dispute हो गया है।
Fiddick should not be butchered to test an
एक बोल रहा है
unproven
मरीज को, हेनरी जो मरीज है हमारा, उसको नॉर्मल तरीके से ट्रीट करें, और एक बोलता है कि ना उस पे हम अच्छा आपकी ट्रांसफ्यूजन वाली टेक्निक यूज करें।
Other people may say that's too conservative a point of view.
Conservative? And what are you going to say to Mr. Fiddick if he loses his arm because of the operation? Because that's what's going to happen if the
मुझे
surgery
4
is a
लेवल के
failure.
मिलने हैं। अच्छा, हमारा मेस्मराइजिंग लेवल जो है शाजी वो स्टोरी के साथ बढ़ता है, हमें कुछ अपग्रेडिंग करनी पड़ेगी इसके लिए? सही है।
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
हाँ, टीबी से क्योर करें इसको, फिर साले को पकड़ लें, धर लें फिर। ये हाँ वैम्पायर भी है,
Good
डॉक्टर भी
evening,
है।
Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
ये पुराने जमाने का गेम दिखाया ना यानी शाजी, जो इसका वो एरा। तो उस जमाने में तो ब्रोंकिटिस का था ही नहीं इलाज। ये गलत टीबी,
Goodbye,
वही तो
Dr.
टीबी
Strickland.
देंगे उस जमाने में इलाज बीमारी थी। आर्थर मर गया हमारा, ये क्या बचेंगे? आर्थर भाई मर गए हमारे। आर्थर गया नहीं ना डॉक्टर के पास खुद। आर्थर वो माई के पास बैठ जाता था, वो काली माई नहीं थी, वो जो वो थी नन।
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm new here.
I've already heard about you, Dr. Reed. I'm Milton Hooks, the ambulance driver for this shithole of a hospital.
That's quite a blunt introduction, Mr. Hooks.
You can call me Milton. I like to speak my mind, Dr. Reed. Perk of the job. Don't judge me, and I won't judge you.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure a gun can't be used as a surgical instrument.
You have a keen eye. I learned to shoot during the war, and have carried one ever since. Old habits die hard.
No need to explain, Dr. Reed. And if you ever need a better gun, remember, I may have something for you.
सबको खाऊंगा। अच्छा, मैं ना एक जगह जो ऐसी होगी ना जिसको अगर आप हॉस्टाइल कर दो, मैं वहाँ सबको खा जाऊंगा बंदे।
How is the situation around here?
You want to hear the situation is all right?
अच्छा।
It's fucking awful. We lack everything, and it's getting worse every day.
वरना एक को खाऊं वरना सबको खाऊं।
Are you really smuggling weapons through the hospital?
And why not? I've already been attacked by patients, you know. And by gang members willing to steal my money.
But you're not defending yourself. You're selling guns to civilians.
You keep people alive your own way, Doctor. I offer them another way to protect their health.
So what do you do exactly in this hospital? Apart from smuggling guns, I mean.
I've been an ambulance driver since...
शाजी
too
नेकी
long, I
करके भी
guess.
बुराई कर रहे हैं।
I bring sick people here night and day. It's a dirty job, but I get it done. Most of the time.
पक्का डॉक्टर।
Since you're on the front line, how is the sanitary situation in this vicinity?
It's a complete disaster. It's even getting dangerous to enter some streets or buildings. Even the locals attack you.
It sounds like things
लो
have
भाई
been a
एनीमिया
bit
भी हुआ है
rough
लोगों को
recently.
यहाँ पे.
What's happened?
Yesterday I got attacked
किसी
by
को वो
the
वाली
patient
बीमारी
I
नहीं
was
जिससे वो
treating.
ड्रैकुला बनने वाला.
I escaped through the hospital's garden, but I lost my wallet when I was running.
You left
ऐसा
an
होना कोई दिन
infected
उसको
patient
इलाज
outside the
देने पे वो
hospital.
पक्का वाला
That's
पियो फिर खा
incredibly
जाए उसको वापसी
dangerous.
ड्रैकुला
Go there
बने.
yourself if you want, but be careful, Doctor.
हिंट दे दी. अबे यार इसका तो 1000 है हेल्थ. शाजी स्टेबल भी सही है ना, यानी हेल्थ स्टेटस.
Do you need any medical help, Milton?
I'm fine, Doc.
Goodbye, Milton.
अभी मिल्टन गार्ड है, ये असला भेज रहा है साला हॉस्पिटल में खड़े होके. ये तो हालत है इस हॉस्पिटल की. वहाँ 2 डॉक्टर लड़ रहे हैं आपस में. यहाँ एक डॉक्टर खुद वैम्पायर है, यहाँ एक डॉक्टर है जो वैम्पायरों की हेल्प कर रहा है, यहाँ एक गार्ड है जो असला सप्लाई कर रहा है.
Not now.
शाजी ये कहाँ मिलेगा मुझे?
It's locked.
ये मिल्टन कहाँ मिलेगा? वो टिपिट्स का तो दरवाजा ही बंद है. चलो पहले मैं नर्स को वो दे दूं दवा.
Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
यहाँ पे किसी डॉक्टर नर्स का सीन भी चल रहा होगा, साले उनको भी मारना पड़ेगा. Maintain the decorum, man.
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
एक चीज मुझे समझ नहीं आई, यहाँ स्पेनिश फ्लू चल रहा है या फिर अपना ड्रैकुला वाला फ्लू चल रहा है? स्पेनिश फ्लू में तो कोई बच्चा ही नहीं था, ये गलत दिखा रहे हैं, क्योर कर रहे हैं. मरेंगे सब मरेंगे भाई. 1 करोड़ आदमी मरा था स्पेनिश फ्लू में.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
ब्लैक था, रेड था वो, लेकिन वो ज्यादा नहीं फैला था. हाँ वो गेम भी मुझे खेलना है शादी.
Sorry, I'm exhausted.
उसमें कॉम्बैट नहीं है ना.
No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
इस ईयर की गेम है, लास्ट ईयर की गेम है.
How long have you been?
इस ईयर की होती है ना, बहुत
long enough to see that the epidemic is winning.
गोटी का.
And no matter how qualified you are,
इस साल ज्यादा
don't
अच्छी
tell
गेम नहीं है,
me
लास्ट
to
के बाद
change that.
गोट के अलावा. तो यार गोसा सुजीमा.
You'd be surprised what dedication can achieve, Nurse Hawkins. In medicine, sometimes we're just a test result away from a miracle.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter, but I'm just too tired to give a pep talk like Nurse Brannigan.
मना कर दिया इसने, मैं बात ही नहीं करूंगी.
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual. especially concerning doctors.
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis? Is it just an act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or not.
यहाँ मिल्टन से सब मसले हैं सबको. मिल्टन की हेट खुल गई. मिल्टन रेपुटेशन इज मेडिक्योर अमंग द कोलीग्स. गार्ड है, गार्ड की क्या रेपुटेशन? गोली मारो.
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know.
हमें असला
Just
सप्लाई
ask
करके
him.
देगा.
But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Goodbye. नहीं यहाँ तो नहीं है भाई. वहाँ होगा ड्राइंग रूम में.
Finally, you've returned, Doctor. Did you find anything of value?
Yes, nurse.
You've worked your first miracle, Doctor. Now, this patient here needs immediate treatment.
Duty calls. When the storm has passed, I'll show you how to mix the remedy yourself with the same basic ingredients.
Many thanks, Doctor. When you've finished, you ought to report to Dr. Swansea in his office. He's been looking for you. Seemed pressing.
Disease decreased. The blood quality of the citizen. Use the correct medicine to heal them. Speak to the patients to room behind Dorothy to check the medical status. Rat in the hospital. ओ भाई रैट है भाई हॉस्पिटल में. ये वो चूहे जो हम खाते हैं. यहाँ पर कोई मोल है. नाइट शिफ्ट हो गया. थर्ड चैप्टर पे आ गया मेरे ख्याल से. नहीं सेकंड चैप्टर का दूसरे पार्ट पे होगा. मुझे मिल्टन नहीं मिला है. शाजिया भी मिल्टन बोल रहा हूँ. टिपेट का ऑफिस बंद है.
Good evening, madam.
Can I help? Chapter 2 पे हूँ. स्वांजी से बात करने के बाद ही शायद
खुले. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
Healthy नहीं है बुढ़िया.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer.
शाजी वही तो माई नहीं है. इसको आप बोल लेते. ये टोपी पहनी हुई है.
Matters.
Are you really that rich?
मैं तेरे को हेड में गाएगा रे.
Are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
Teacher है बुढ़िया.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering?
Vampyr's question of the primary hospital efficiency.
Some of the staff are not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Tell me about your arrival.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
अच्छा यहाँ पे ये दूसरी नर्स है, ये रिश्वत लेती है भाई. यानी पेशेंट के बेड बुक करती है भाई. यहाँ पे गलत काम है भाई, इसको भी खाऊंगा मैं.
She charged you for a bed.
नहीं, कटसीन नहीं है ये, मैं खाऊंगा. लेकिन ये और टिपेट आ गए मेरी लिस्ट में.
Urgency of the situation.
मैंने सुना नहीं
क्या
बोला.
She charged you for a bed.
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
Very bad. इसने एक मरीज को चार्ज किया बिना वजह.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the
मैं
people
immediately
involved.
action लूंगा उस पे और खा जाऊंगा उसको.
Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
नहीं यहाँ भी टॉलरेट नहीं होगा. ऐसा वैसा टॉलरेट होगा, खा जाएगी उसको. अबे यार बहुत तफरी गेम है.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Good evening, sir.
ये आपका बेटा है. येड़ा सा बेटा है आल्टी आपका. येड़ा सा बेटा है.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No.
Really? Why are you here then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
शाजी शाजी अरे मरीज मर रहा है शाजी, जल्दी आए. शाजी शाजी ये मॉर्टाइमर गॉस्विक है शायद, उसका बेटा है बुढ़िया का ना है, जिसके गले पे पट्टियां लगी हैं. ये बीमार है, इसको दवा दूं या नहीं दूं? फटीक की दवा मांग रहा है. अच्छा मैं अभी डोंट गिव मेडिसिन कर दूं, बाद में देने का ऑप्शन होगा? नर्स को दे दी, नर्स को दे दी और नर्स ने बोला है जाके ऊपर स्वयंजी से बात कर लो. इसका मतलब दे दी ना मैंने. बस तो फिर इसकी जान बचाओ मैं यार, ये बढ़ रहा है लड़का पे, इसको खाऊंगा मैं ताज़ा ताज़ा करके.
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
आहा. अब ये हेल्दी हो गया तो ये वो हो गया ना मेरे ख्याल से. रिकवरिंग में अभी. और हम जितने बंदे यानी करेंगे क्योर तो हमारा यानी मेडिकल यानी जो स्टेटस है वो भी अच्छा होता रहेगा ना. वो खैर है, अब मैं ऐसे मेंटेन करके चलूंगा ना, एक को खाऊंगा एक को सही करूंगा, एक को खाऊंगा एक को सही करूंगा, जिसको सही करूंगा उसी को खाऊंगा. About your hospitalization.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
हाँ ऐसा कुछ आएगा मौका कि पता लग जाए गेम एंड है यार अब. उसमें हम अपने नॉर्मल क्योर हो जाएंगे.
Paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just
इस
your
वेंजी से ही लड़ना पड़ेगा और क्या
Mr.
होगा.
Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of
बाबा
something
मुझे
more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write
आज या
about
कल
it
में
now.
खत्म कर लूंगा. नहीं 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 नहीं. स्पॉइल नहीं स्पॉइल. अच्छा इसकी थ्रोट में दर्द है बहुत.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this
Baby.
is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm
ठीक
here.
है.
She'd go all the way to hell.
हाँ मैं लाता हूँ 2-3 बंदे ने, एक तो आ गया एक और आ रहा है.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
ओ तेरी माँ
Is your
मुझे
mother
परेशान
bothering
कर रही है, मैं तेरी माँ को खा
As your
जाऊंगा.
doctor, I can ask
बोल.
her to leave you alone if you would
आर्डर दे
prefer.
बस हमें तो.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable
नौ
of.
बहुत टैड गेम है यार.
She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
आपसे पता क्या बोला तूने, मैंने सुना नहीं.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
How painful is your throat?
So painful.
I'll let you get some rest then.
I'm alright. Don't waste your time with me.
ये बेचारा लग रहा है मुझे, ये मरेगा बेचारा. इसको मरने से पहले ही मैं खा जाता हूँ. गेम चैट मेरी भी भागे भाई 2 हफ्ते से.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
गुड इवनिंग नहीं गुड नाइट है. बहुत टाइट गेम है. ऐसे गेम आने चाहिए यार. इसका दूसरा पार्ट भी आ रहा है, सुनने में आ रहा है. आप कौन हो भाई? आप हेनरी हो जिसका
Good
इलाज
evening,
होगा.
sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick.
Harvey Fiddick.
All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
तेरा लेवल मेरे बराबर है रे. अच्छा भाई. Tell me about yourself.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Tell me about the doctors who... What do you mean?
I often had...
Tell me about...
Strickland and Aykroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is, I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Are you satisfied with your...
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
2 घंटे आ गई. Harvey's wife died during the war.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army. Building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
How your children are.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
I'm sorry for your loss.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
Oh, sweet girl. Reads me like a book.
Blood temptation. Remember, cities and blood will provide you massive XP. बेटा मैं तेरे से बाद में आगे बात करेगा। तू पैसे लेती है ना बेचारों से। वो जो बोलते हैं ना मैं तेरा खून पी जाऊंगा, इस गेम में पक्का बैठता है तेरा खून पी। ओ दल्ले, ओ तू कौन है?
Good evening, sir.
So it is true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before, at the Rockefeller...
Dr. Tippett's, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about coronary bypasses. He had nothing but praise for you.
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent surgeon and blood transfusion specialist.
Oh, मुद्दे की बात कर ले बेटा.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please, speak freely.
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in a better environment.
It's more than enough. In any case, the personnel of a hospital are much more important to me than the building.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
What can you tell me?
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this troubled period, there is no time for slander. I prefer to focus on the...
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
Nurse Brannigan is a pearl. She is the most helpful and dedicated nurse I've ever worked with. A clever and cheerful woman.
You really seem to admire her skills.
Conquer is convinced that Gareth Bargain is overqualified. उसको डॉक्टर बना दूं क्या मैं? कोरोना मेडिकल एरर. हाँ इसका तो बदला लेगा मैं. खाएगा तेरे को.
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a damn fine practitioner.
Any opinion about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep this facility running during this crisis.
Ah yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get out of his office now and again.
चड्डी ऊपर क्यों बंद है?
Corcoran, I want you to tell me about Mr. Connor. How did he die? What happened?
एक public figure लेना होता है ना भाई उनको.
He died because of my mistake. That's the blunt truth.
Corcoran, I want you to tell me about Mr. Connor. How did he die? What happened?
He was my patient. He died because of my mistake. That's the blunt truth.
What was the nature of the mistake?
It was a twofold error. My diagnosis was wrong, and the administered dosage was too strong.
Who was this patient?
I don't know. Some sick man from the docks, maybe a fisherman. I had no time to talk with him. No one claimed the body.
Why not stop practicing?
Are you mad? I killed that man, I admit it, and it won't happen again. I have saved so many lives since then.
Fuck you, bitch. तेरे को आके देखता हूँ मैं. तेरे को 3-4 बजे खाएगा नाश्ते में. नहीं.
Please, Jonathan, come in.
Fascinating, is it not? In the last decade, so many mysteries have been brought to light with our microscopes. The human body, biology's penultimate frontier. The more we explore its boundaries, the less we're able to trace a clear line between life and death. You, my friend, have a foot in both countries. The view must be vertiginous.
It's at least as vertiginous as chatting about vampires with you, I would say.
This must be all so new to you. This area of town, the hospital, a brand new life. How stimulating it must be.
I wish I could share your enthusiasm, Dr. Swansea, but my condition defies scientific categorization. Undead? Unalive? Immortality defies logic.
I cannot express my thrill at this serendipitous turn of events. The world's most eminent specialist in blood transfusions, a vampire. One might say a gift from heaven.
There is an absurd poetry to my situation. Physician, heal thyself.
Forgive me. I've been an admirer of your work for a long time, and now you are so much more than a brilliant physician. And please, call me Edgar.
There is no need to apologize, Edgar. You offered me sanctuary when I had none.
Very well. I have a task for you, Jonathan. Something that will require all your newfound skills.
Please, go on.
The Pembroke only survives through the generosity of our benefactors. Unfortunately, our main donor has found herself in a bit of a bind. Now, if you could help her out...
A spokesman or politician is what you need. That's not my calling. And until I come to understand what has happened to me, I require discretion.
Discretion is in order, Jonathan. Lady Ashbury has recently received rather indelicate correspondence that, if revealed, would jeopardize her position.
And you would like me to eradicate this threat?
By the stole, of course not. I would just like you to pay her a visit. Her ladyship is certainly near the tents outside, tending the sick. You can't miss her. Look for someone impossibly delicate.
Accepted. I'll see what kind of trouble Lady Ashbury is in.
Do you need something?
I have just a few questions.
Then ask away. I'm at your service, Doctor.
You mentioned something about a secret society. A brotherhood, if I recall. Could you elaborate?
Certainly. I've been a member of the Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole for several years. We are pledged to monitor and report vampire activity in England as impartial scientific observers.
That explains your nightly wanderings about the docks and the questions you ask.
I feel it wasn't mere coincidence that led us to that part of town. There was something as yet unseen that set those chain of events in motion.
Yet you don't fear me. And still, you know the monster that lurks beneath the civilized surface.
The Brotherhood has studied your kind for centuries. We believe you are as supernatural as a lion is to a gazelle.
साले की ब्लड क्वालिटी 6000 है, खा जाओ.
I have then. Since I'm the one working for you, What should I know about Pembroke Hospital?
Well, for many years, we have been the only medical facility in this part of town that people can rely on. We support the community here, as well as provide health care.
Where do we stand today?
Oh, to be honest, we cope on a day-to-day basis. The first wave of the Spanish flu last summer took us by surprise. We lack many of the basic necessities needed.
What do you expect of me?
What we need is hope. You were a soldier. This is a war. This white coat's still a uniform. We fight to help the poor, the sick of the East End, the forgotten.
Since you seem quite the expert...
As men of science, our first step is always to start with...
the sun. The morning following my transformation. Its rays burned me. There was pain, smoke, and my skin blackened.
You will find there is very little that can kill a vampire, my friend. You have been offered relative immortality. The sun will most certainly hurt you, leaving you weakened and damaged, but it will not destroy you.
Must I take a life to live?
You are a vampire. You feed, and blood is the sole sustenance that can sustain your immortal frame. And only a living creature contains the nourishment you require.
The man we pursued...
He was a Skald, technically speaking. The debate rages as to their classification. Some think them a subspecies of vampire, others something else.
How do Skalds come into existence?
The name means slave. The etymology may indicate that they are a lesser species.
Just for clarity, what differences are there between myself and a Skald?
A Skald is easier to eliminate, Jonathan, even if they remain formidable foes for the unprepared. Vampires... Now, vampires exist beyond the mortal realm.
हम सुपर हीरो हैं. सुपर हीरो बेच दूर रहे हमसे.
We'll see each other.
हाँ ये सुपर हीरो है भाई. सुपर पावर से साले के बाबू. शू शू शू. पावर ही है ना. सुपर पावर ही होती है. सुपर पावर होती है जो सुपर डुपर हो. और ये तो डॉक्टर भी है भाई. देख सुपर हीरो वाला है ना पूरा चीज. देख इसका डॉक्टर भी है. अच्छाई को भी. अबे यार किसको करने था. गोएंत को. गोएंत कहाँ है. ओ बाबा जी आप बच गए. पादरी.
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sir, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the dockers' trade union. Wet Boot Boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Booth Digby.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender from the Turtle? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
Message कर ग्रुप पे बोल दे हम दोनों आ जाए खाना खाने का.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton?
अरे पादरी है भाई. अब ये भी पूछेगा क्या करते हो लिविंग के लिए. पादरी है, पहना हुआ है लॉकेट.
Homeless of the docks. And I try to guide the lost
पादरी को पैसे नहीं देता कोई.
right path to our Lord.
पादरी तेरे को खा जाऊं 6 लेवल का है 3000 देगा. नहीं कहा, अच्छा बंदा है. Are you a priest? यार क्या पूछ रहा है यार?
A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith, willing to preach the good word.
पादरी नहीं है. ऐसी अल्लाह वाला बंदा है. अल्लाह वाला बंदा तो नहीं, खैर क्रिश्चियन वाला बंदा है.
Why didn't you use your cross against
Jesus वाला बंदा है, Jesus वाला बंदा.
To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say.
बहुत क्लास का गेम है यार, बहुत क्लास का गेम है. क्यों मिस करा था मैंने गेम?
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really, but I recognized Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke? Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months.
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is...
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest. And then I can go back to the people who need me.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
On every street corner.
I cannot enter.
आ जा बेटा, अभी मैं तेरे को पकड़ता वापसी में आके ना. अरे गोविंद की बच्ची कहाँ है? क्या नाम था इसका? राकेश चड्डाना.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Doc.
Goodbye.
बीमार है ये औरत अभी से बता रहा हूँ मैं.
I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me.
I beg your pardon.
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency?
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
Do you require my services, Miss Howcroft?
I have no need for your medicine, Dr. Reed. Blood is the only drug I need.
Have you heard of any blackmailing going on within these walls?
I have no time for mortal games. My secrets are beyond their comprehension, Dr. Reed.
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
It was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have straight...
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard's syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul, or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad.
पागल है ये तो.
It's immortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
Please.
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh crack.
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
The staff here...
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire!
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
I'll leave you, Mistress.
Time has lost its effect on me. But the suffering...
Good evening, nurse. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, the new surgeon here at the Pembroke.
Dr. Swansea has already told us about you, sir. I'm Nurse Gwyneth Brannigan. Welcome to the Pembroke Hospital.
Did he really? It's a good thing I wasn't hoping to keep a low profile.
All members of staff have already read about your new blood transfusion technique. Dr. Swansea made sure of that.
I see. Well, I'm a little surprised, but I suppose I'll just have to deal with this unexpected notoriety.
You must know, blood transfusions are Dr. Swansea's primary subject of research. He is convinced it is the future.
How are things here?
Not good, to say the least. We're struggling against an invisible enemy, more lethal than any bullet from a gun. It's hard, Doctor.
An invisible enemy? Quite a poetic term for a disease, especially from a nurse.
Sorry, Doctor. These last few weeks have been exhausting. We could all do with a good night's sleep.
Do you think this hospital can survive the epidemic?
We are all volunteers here, and we're trying to hold fast, but how do we beat an invisible killer? Some nurses have already resigned.
I'm not familiar with all the staff yet. Perhaps you could help me.
Brilliant professionals, most of them. Dr. Swansea has a gift for recruiting talent.
Most of them? Is there a problem I should know about, nurse?
It would be inappropriate for me to speak ill of a colleague.
Is there anyone that stands out?
Well, I have never met someone as dedicated as Dr. Tippets. He should be a standard for us all here. If only he were younger.
Why should his age be a problem?
I guess it's fair to say he's always pushing himself to the limits. He just doesn't know when to stop and get some rest.
Nurse Brannigan, if you do know something, please tell me. Anything you say will be held in confidence.
No. I may disagree with some conduct, but in the end, everybody is doing their best.
Why does Dr. Tippets claim you're the main reason he keeps working, despite his fatigue?
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have left the Pembroke years ago.
Dr. Tippets does not think of you as just a nurse anymore, does he?
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender into consideration when it comes to medical practice and knowledge, I really hope he doesn't.
Tell me what Dr. Tippets did. I know his mistake caused a patient's death.
If I had not covered up his error, Dr. Tippets would have been fired from this hospital. I could not let that happen.
You can't allow your emotions to dictate... your conduct concerning patients, Nurse Brannigan.
Look around you, Dr. Reed. Do you really think we can afford to lose a brilliant practitioner like Dr. Tippets in our situation?
Perhaps you did it with the best intentions, Nurse Brannigan, but you took a great risk. Must I remind you that a man died?
You mean you've never made a mistake? Never covered your tracks? Come on, Doctor. I wasn't born yesterday.
I've decided that I won't reveal Dr. Tippets. Shall we say, misdemeanor.
I'm so glad you share my point of view. Dr. Tippets is a brilliant practitioner. We most definitely need his know-how.
I hope you're right. This is a huge risk we're taking.
Dr. Tippets must regain his confidence. Please, keep this decision between you and me. He doesn't need to know you found out.
Goodbye.
The flu took my dear wife, Emily. I take comfort knowing we'll soon be together again.
Mr. Rainfield, that's no way to talk. You're in good hands here, and we'll be up again soon enough. Now do me a kindness and get some sleep. I'll be back round later.
Your words are kind, the blessings of an angel. You're the sweet, sweet Lady of Mercy.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. It's a pleasure to see you again. You seem surprised. Dr. Swansea has brought me up to speed concerning your recent appointment to Pembroke Hospital.
You're a the lady who saved me that night, before vanishing into thin air. I remember you from the pub with Dr. Swansea.
Indeed. Allow me to introduce myself formally this time. My name is Lady Ashbury. I remember you well, in spite of the brevity of our encounter.
So it seems our Dr. Swansea does indeed have a fascination for creatures of our constitution.
Dr. Swansea is a remarkable man. Dedicated, one might say, obstinate. He spent years compiling our bestiary.
I hope you're more disposed to answer my questions now.
You must have countless questions, but a rather urgent matter first. Swansea has explained. My cover, if you prefer, has been compromised.
Dr. Swansea has commissioned me to be your agent in this matter. You could start by explaining what's amiss.
These past insufferable weeks, I've been the victim of extortion. I've made a first payment, but the blackmailer grows greedy. I must refuse his most recent demands.
Please continue. Every detail is essential. I'm your man.
My embarrassment in this matter is eclipsed only by my shame at having put the hospital at risk. The threat from our anonymous scoundrel is clear. A list of dates. My visits coinciding with the dates of suspicious patient deaths.
पीछे एक बंदा खड़ा हुआ है मरीज वो सुन रहा है बातें हम वैम्पायर है मारो साले को मैं खा जाऊंगा
I'll take care of it. Do you know where I should start?
If that was the case, I'd settle the matter myself. You could talk to our local gossip, Harriet Jones. Not a pin drops here without her hearing about it.
I'll meet that woman now.
My life, as others know, is in your hands, Dr. Reed. I'm sure of your discretion, but I do fear your powers of persuasion will be put to the test. When this is resolved, I'll be your obligé. I'll answer all questions in regards of your condition. Is our little mystery close?
I think of nothing else.
My situation is delicate, and it occupies all my thoughts. Is our little mystery?
I think of nothing.
My situation.
Good evening, Dr. Tippett.
Dr. Reed, any...
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
No. We must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more, unto the breach.
Nurse Brannigan is worried about you, Doctor.
She should not have told you that. I will have a word with her.
You don't have to blame her for her honesty.
I'm not that kind of man, my dear Jonathan. Actually, Nurse Brannigan's opinion is the only one I may listen to.
Have you heard of any underhand dealings going on in this hospital?
I have no time for such triviality, my dear colleague. We're here to save lives.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett.
I'm quite busy, right?
Have you heard about any blackmail going on in this hospital?
Blackmail? Nonsense.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later. Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
Have you heard any talk of blackmail going on in the hospital?
If you're running some official inquiry, you had better question the patients. They know more than the staff, especially old Miss Jones.
Have you heard...
If you're running some official inquiry, you had better question the patients.
Have you heard...
If you're running some official inquiry, you had better question the patients. They know more than the staff, especially old Miss Jones.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
You always knew the words.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Have you heard talk of any blackmail here at the hospital?
No. Not...
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
I will not let you down, my boy.
Dr. Reed, may I help you?
What can you...
Everyday folk don't know how bad it is.
News on the front stated that the Spanish flu was under control.
It seemed to be for a while. But that was only last summer. It returned...
What can you tell me?
This hospital was founded to help the East End poor and needy.
Can you be more specific?
Well, veterans, the elderly,
Have you heard rumors about blackmail within the hospital?
I don't have time to listen to all the idle gossip that floats in these halls, Doctor.
Do you know if any of the hospital staff have had run-ins with the law?
Doctor, you've hardly been here and you're already questioning the moral
I'll see you later. Good evening, sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently...
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they still call me Thomas Elwood.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
Soldier, do you need assistance?
I'm fine. Just do something for this pain, will you? That's all I'm asking. Oh, it's blood.
Can I ask you?
It's the pain, sir.
Who is treating you? Is someone in particular looking after your case?
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me. Started to think I was forgotten about. Wouldn't blame you.
You don't seem worried.
My face hurts so much more when I smile or cry. I've learned it's easier not to speak. But be assured I'm smiling inside.
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect. Told you. It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
Where were you stationed, sir? Did you serve for long?
I really don't want to talk about...
No offense. I was pushing too much. I served...
You were an officer, weren't you? Then I doubt we fought the same war, sir. No offense.
How close are you to Miss Horcroft? Are you aware that she thinks she is a vampire?
To wait for her next nibble is the best reason to stay here. Every time she approaches my bed, she treats me like something tasty. A normal person.
Aren't you afraid? She may hurt you if the game goes too far.
She's quite harmless, I can assure you. Her head's broken inside is all. While I'm busted on the outside. But she's still beautiful. Living proof that there's hope for me.
So do you let her bite you? You know that's not sanitary.
And why not? She's only supping a few drops of me blood. And the pain, it's real for once.
She could decide to bite less willing patients.
Then it's another good reason for me to stay here, Doctor.
You do realize she's mentally disturbed. It's called the Cotard syndrome. She truly believes she's a vampire.
In her frankly, if I could, I'd join her world. It seems much more fun than the real one.
Have you heard rumors of underhand dealings?
What's going on here? You better talk to Miss Jones. She knows everything. Especially what she shouldn't.
Goodbye for now.
Fear and disgust on every street corner. Daily routine.
I need my medication. What? What is this? Who are you? Get out of my room.
There's no need for alarm, madam. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon.
Preposterous. Dr. Reed, you say? I don't want some bumbling intern. Where's Dr. Swansea?
Please calm down. Shut up.
Please calm down, madam. I assure you that I am highly qualified. I'm just back from war duty.
How brave. Threatening an old defenseless woman. You know how long I've been a patient here? You've picked the wrong fight. I'm Harriet Jones.
Harriet Jones? Indeed. I've been meaning to have a chat with you. You know what goes on here better than any other patient, I gather.
Oh, better than any patient, nurse or doctor. I've seen so many vile undertakings.
I heard there have been some despicable goings-on. Was there a case of blackmail?
Blackmail? Wait. You're investigating something. This isn't a social call. One of those incompetent cunts slit a poor sod's vein.
If I didn't know better, Miss Jones, I'd be inclined to say you enjoy this type of idle gossip.
God's honest truth, Doctor. It's just the way it is here. Most of these bitches would let you freeze to death before getting you a blanket.
You seem to know more about the goings-on here than anyone else. Beware, Miss Jones, in case suspicion should fall on you.
That's it. Blame the old and infirm. I see those little bitches' greedy little eyes. Just waiting for me to pop off, they are.
I assure you, madam, this is not an investigation into a possible medical error.
Debauchery, then? Nurses Crane, Hawkins, Brannigans, whores, all of them. They can't keep their legs shut. I've seen them scratching slutty sores.
Really? Well, if you have irrefutable proof, I'll not have the staff behaving in such a manner here.
This is your business, Doctor, not mine. But I swear one of the nurses is cavorting with some man on hospital hours.
Thank you for your time, Miss Jones. You've given me something to go on. See you on the next round. The patients and staff might know something. I'll start my investigation with them.
Feel disgust on every street corner.
I wonder what your last thoughts
Daily
would be,
route.
sir.
Goodbye, Miss. Good evening.
I need blood, Doctor.
Tell me, Thelma, why do you feel so attached to Mr. Elwood? Why him?
I'm not sure, Doctor. I think we have a bond of some sort. We've both suffered so much. He's the only mortal I find interesting.
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically involved?
No. No, Thomas is a delicate soul. Even though he disguises it. But I am not the woman he needs. No, for I am a vampire, Doctor.
Do you plan to make him a vampire too?
Of course not. How could I inflict my curse on anybody else? I'm not that cruel, Doctor.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark.
I wonder what your last thoughts would be, sir.
Feel
disgust on every street corner.
Someone's poached my blanket. Oh, the cold will be my death.
Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Doc.
Have you... If you...
अबे यार L1 दब गया.
Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Disgust on every street corner.
And what of my own life?
The daily routine.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
What can you tell me about the strange man visiting one of the nurses during her shift?
Let me guess. You spoke with that old shrew, Harriet Jones. Do not pay attention to her, Doctor. She's full of fanciful tales.
She could have been telling the truth about the mysterious man.
That old witch will end up in hell soon enough. Who cares if a nurse finds some happiness where she can?
No matter how you feel about her, Miss Jones deserves our help.
Who says I don't care for her? Hate is what keeps that old crone alive.
What can you tell me about the strange man visiting one of the nurses during her shift?
Let me guess. You spoke with that old shrew, Harriet Jones. Do not pay attention to her, Doctor. She's full of fanciful tales.
What can you tell me about...
Let me get...
Goodbye.
Damn. The pain. It's here again.
Perhaps I should have considered the offer from that Callaghan fellow.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Do you know if any of the hospital staff have criminal backgrounds?
The people who work here all come from very different backgrounds, Doctor. Just like the patients.
Have you seen a strange man visiting any of the nurses here?
I've never heard of such a thing, Doctor.
Goodbye. It's locked.
dodged death so many times. Please, sir. I need help bad.
What's going on?
I'm Blight, sir. Newton Blight. I've lost my mate. Can't find him anywhere.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed from the Pembroke Hospital. Please, calm down and give me more details.
Oswald and myself were both infantry, sir. We were en route for the hospital, but we had a disagreement. And Oswald ran off towards the canal.
How long have you been searching for him?
I can't go there. Too many rats by the water. Fucking rats. Can't stand them since the war, sir.
Don't be ashamed, Mr. Blight. Many soldiers who survived the trenches suffered. Where was your friend the last time you saw him?
He went down by the canal. He didn't want to go to the hospital.
This is a dangerous part of town. What are you doing here?
We were looking for the Pembroke Hospital. We were looking...
What can you tell me about your friend?
His name is Oswald Thatcher. We survived the war together. Oswald is... nervous and quite fragile since we came back from the war.
What can you tell me about yourself?
I'm Oswald's best friend. We served in the same regiment, sir. We've taken care of each other since we came back from the front. Thank you, Doc.
It's locked, all right. I cannot enter.
We've dodged death so many times. Oswald,
don't worry.
You can't just die like this.
You're sure you don't come back with me?
Nah, I ought to see someone at the hospital.
Be careful. You look so bad they may keep you as a patient.
Fuck 'em. I don't like hospitals or doctors.
Well then, when you go back to Whitechapel, you may find this useful.
What is it?
A pass for a free medical exam by the best nurse available. Just read it.
I don't read well, but thank you, I guess.
कौन देख रहा है भाई स्ट्रीम? नाम बता दो यार, स्ट्रीम कौन देख रहा है? नॉफ तू देख रहा है?
This man has been savagely attacked and dragged to the floor. What sort of creature is this? Here's what's left of him. Not a lot to check. Some voucher for a free checkup in Whitechapel. What is Nurse Crane up to? I really must find her.
चूहे खाओ चूहे। मैंने अभी स्वेयर बीस्ट को मारा है। डॉर्थिया तो भाग गई बोर्ड पे। ठीक है, उसने एक थक को कोई कूपन दिया था, वो मारा गया कुत्ते की मौत। मैं वरना डॉर्थिया को मारने ही जा रहा था। अच्छा, मैंने टिपेट को माफ कर दिया, वो काम का डॉक्टर लग रहा है मेरे को। अब हाँ, मेरे अब 3000 रिजॉल्व जमा हो गई। अब मैं सोच रहा हूँ मैं जाके रेस्ट कर लूँ। कौन सी वाली? डॉर्थिया? अभी तो वो बोर्ड पे चली गई, अभी कुछ किया नहीं है। हाँ अब नहीं, मैं खाऊंगा तो सबको ही, छोड़ना किसी को नहीं है। आजा।
It's a leech! Kill it!
ये वैम्पायर हंटर घूमने जगह जगह इनको मारूं? 13 लेवल का भाई। नहीं गेम बहुत अच्छा है समीर, ये बहुत अलग गेम है, तफरी गेम है, थ्रिल सस्पेंस। लोडिंग अजीब सी हो गई मिडिल में लोडिंग कोई। ऐसी लोड आया था नहीं। अच्छा शाहजी, ये जो स्किल वाले होते हैं ये सारा ब्लड यूज करते हैं ना, पैसिव स्किल और ये डिफेंसिव टैक्टिकल। कौन सा करूं? रेज तो बोल रहे हैं कि लेवल 10 रिक्वायर्ड है। हाँ मैंने ब्लड कैपेसिटी लेवल 1 पे की हुई है और अपना स्टैमिना भी और बढ़ा दूं। साइंस और ब्लड का ताल्लुक नहीं है कुछ। $3,500 है मेरे पास पॉइंट अभी भी नहीं, अब 2,500 रहेगा। यार ये गेम अंडररेटेड, बहुत अंडररेटेड गेम है। हाँ you perform a supernatural move to your target and cause damage upon landing। ये क्या शैडो वाइल्ड क्या पावर है ये? काम की है। Increase the damage inflicted by using combat। वो लेवल 1 पे लेवल 2 पे कर लेता हूँ। 1300 की बढ़ रही है। मैक्स आ गई मेरे करंट लेवल के हिसाब से। लेवल 13 मांग रहा है उसके लिए और लेवल 12 आगे लेवल 12 मांग रहा है आगे के लिए। स्किल ट्री यानी इसका ज़्यादा हाई नहीं मांग रहा। मेरा स्किल लेवल अब 8 हो गया है। स्टैमिना और ये एक दफ़ा और बढ़ा लेता हूँ। हेल्थ ये शायद मुझे समझ नहीं आना मेरा लेवल कैसे बढ़ रहा है। मैं अपनी एक्सपी खर्च कर रहा हूँ तो मेरा लेवल बढ़ रहा है, यानी मैं अपने स्किल ट्री को अपग्रेड कर रहा हूँ तो मेरा लेवल बढ़ेगा। यूँ 9 पे आ गया एकदम से। सही। ये क्या लेवल 10 रेज खुलेगी लेवल। अच्छा रेज से क्या होता है? नहीं यार बेहतरीन है। The following night मैस्मराइजिंग लेवल नहीं बढ़ रहा मेरा, 1 पे ही फंसा हुआ है। अच्छा मैं एक्स्ट्रा वो के बना के रखूं ट्रीटमेंट्स के जो होते हैं। ट्रीटमेंट्स अलग होते हैं, सीरम्स अलग होते हैं क्या? अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा, और सीरम लगाना पड़ेगा और बाकी ट्रीटमेंट्स के बना के रख लूँ ना, 2-3 तो। अच्छा ये क्या है? ट्रीटमेंट फॉर सेप्स यानी सेप्सिस अंटिल इट क्योर द सिटीजन सेप्सिस है। अच्छा इसके लिए मेरे पास सोडियम कम पड़ गया, इसका सोडियम तो मिल जाएगा, मसला ही नहीं। अच्छा गन को अपग्रेड करूँगा अपनी। नहीं पार्ट्स अच्छा ये चीजें भी अपग्रेड होती हैं। ये जो वेपन्स होते हैं वो गन्स वन हटा के जो होते हैं टूल्स वगैरह जो होते हैं। एंड हो गया, एंड हो गया। शॉर्ट ऑफ मटेरियल है, समझ आ रहा है गेम थोड़ा बहुत ना। अच्छा जो ट्रीटमेंट्स के जो पोर्शन मैंने बनाया वो मेरे पास हर वक्त रहेंगे ना इक्विप? कोई पेशेंट मांगे तो दे दूं उसको कभी भी? ठीक हो गया। और ये सीरम कैसे इक्विप करूं? और कैसे लगता है? डी पैड ऑटोमेटिक ठक करके इंजेक्शन मार लेगा? सही, गुड हो गया, सही हो गया। अरे मैं अपनी खिड़की से निकल के भाग सकता हूँ। ब्लैकमेल इन वाइट चैपल, रीच वाइट चैपल। अब ये मैं कह रहूँगा थोड़ी देर बाद। स्ट्रीम रोकता हूँ।